It's August 17, 2018, and I'm here at the Dimensions of Disclosure conference with JP, who I've known since 2008, when he first contacted me about some experiences he had in Brazil. So I want to welcome you, JP, to Exo News TV.
Thank you.
And just want you to share a little bit about how this all began. How did you first learn about extraterrestrials? What were your first experiences that led you to this remarkable journey of contact with different ETs?
Well, my first experience, it was when I was 7 years of age. I had an experience in upstate New York. I was in my room and I saw a light, and I followed the light out down the stairs, and I remember it was like a little blizzard in upstate New York in that time. And I was only in my boxers, and I went outside in the cold into the woods following this light. And then I just woke up in my room. That was my first experience that I experienced, that I thought myself, wow, this is weird, something is happening here. And you know, the years passed, and I met my wife.
Before you go on about meeting your wife, just that experience you had at age 7 in upstate New York, do you remember any beings that you saw? Was it just a light? Was it a feeling? What do you remember specifically about?
It was a light that gave me a feeling like to follow it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a light, and I remember seeing the light, following it out my house and going to the woods. But then when I was in the woods, I remember the time, I couldn't hear the birds, I couldn't hear the branches of the tree, the wind, everything was silent. After that, I just woke up in my bed.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember anything about the time? Was this at night? Was it a cold night?
It was a really cold night. It was snowing.
It was snowing, but you went out in your boxers.
I went out in my boxers.
Okay. I mean, didn't you feel cold? Or?
I felt regular, like if it was a regular day.
Okay. So there was something happening in terms of whoever was summoning you.
Yeah, I felt that I could control my body temperature.
Mm-hmm.
Like in a state of meditation kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw this light, I felt a state of calm in my whole body. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason I wanted to follow it out of my house.
Right. And do you remember anything particular about the light? Was it like just very bright?
It was pulsing. Every time it pulsed, I remember I had the urge to follow it.
Mm-hmm.
So the pulse was the communication for me to follow it.
Mm-hmm. How big was it?
The light, it wasn't no size.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't no size of it was just a light.
Mm-hmm. And you just followed it outside?
I followed it.
And how far from your home did you have to follow it?
I followed it like a half mile out.
Wow, half a mile out. So
out.
You're walking. So you remember walking in your shorts at night in the snow in upstate New York towards this light that's calling you.
10 to 8 minutes, 11, 12. Walking in the snow.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then you reached a point where
the light was like surrounding you. Like the light is like surrounding you, and you're like, wow, that feeling that you feel. It was different. And
so what did that feel? I mean, what did you actually experience? Did you actually see the light? Did you walk into the light? Did it actually come over you? How did you feel it surrounding you?
It surrounded me. The light surrounded me, and you just felt a beautiful feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Something beautiful.
Did you see where the light was coming from? Was it
No.
like coming from the sky?
Mm-mm. It was just there.
Just there, just the light.
Yeah.
And so you remember feeling it surrounding you, and then the next thing you recall was just waking up in bed.
I wake up in bed. That's it.
Okay. Did you ever tell anyone about that experience?
My mom got mad because the whole floor was wet
Oh, okay.
because of the snow, and my feet was really dirty on the bed.
Your feet were dirty. It was dirty on the bed. Okay.
And
Uh-huh.
the experience, the next experience, if you want me to go to that one now,
Mhm.
is, after I got married with my wife, years passed. I got married with my wife, and my wife, she's from Brazil, and she told me, "You're gonna have to go to Brazil to meet my father. You haven't met my father, so you have to go to Brazil." And I said, "Where exactly in Brazil?" She said, Goiânia. Goiânia is a place in Brazil. It's a state that is all farmland. It's beautiful. It's similar to Colorado. A lot of mountains, a lot of creeks, a lot of water. It's really in the middle of nowhere kind of thing. And I flew there, right? I actually flew down with my uncle because my family knew her family yet from Brazil, so my uncle flew down with me to meet the family.
Mhm.
So when we went to the family, my wife, father owns a hotel. They put us in a hotel. We slept in a hotel, and then her father says, "Hey, we're gonna visit. We're gonna go to a Brazilian farm." And I was excited. I've never been to a Brazilian farm because I heard when you go to a Brazilian farm, you eat a lot, and the food is amazing over there in Brazil. And we decided to go to this farm, and we stayed. We had to stay overnight because the farm was away from the city, and the roads are really dangerous in Brazil. There's only a two-way road, and these roads, it's really dangerous. You see accidents left to right. So when I was in the farm, I remember the whole day was normal. I was participating with the family that owned the farm. The whole day was normal. We were riding horses, eating fruits from the trees. And that night, something changed in my life that it was an experience I never felt. It was an experience that changed the way I think about things. An experience that changed the way that I perceive life. So that same night, we went out, and then we went outside. They were eating, I just fell asleep, and then everybody fell asleep. I was sleeping like in the living room area. I remember recapping what happened to me. I remember getting up, and I felt in my body like a pulsing energy, and I wanted to go outside, so I started going outside. And I crossed a creek. When I crossed the creek, there was a plain, there was a field, and there was a pulsing ship. It was a pulsing ship right in front of me. And I remember that I went to it. I looked at it, it had markings. And I felt the ship. And when I felt the ship was cold and vibrating. And when you feel the ship, you can feel the ship rubbing on your hands, and your hair starts going up, and you feel an amazing energy coming from the ship. And then after I felt the ship, I saw extraterrestrials. They had blonde hair, they had blue eyes, they had a nice uniform. It was like a grayish blue uniform. And peaceful. I felt peace. While I was touching the ship, they came out they like greeted me. And then the same thing that happened when I was 7 years old. I just woke up in the bed. But when I woke up in the bed, they noticed that my feet was red because the dirt in Brazil is red.
Mm-hmm.
My whole feet was red. And I didn't say nothing to nobody because I was scared. What would happen would affect.
Okay, so let's just to kind of like get more detail about this experience. And this happened in 2008.
Yeah.
Right. And so this was, you're in Brazil visiting your prospective father-in-law, and you're in this farm, and you get this kind of impulse to go outside again, and you see a light, and you see the ship. Now, how big was the ship? I mean, and what was the shape of the ship?
The ship was like a triangle, kind of oval ship.
Like an oval type ship.
Yeah, it was like an oval, but you could still see. It was like an oval, but triangular shape.
Mm-hmm. So some kind of oddly shaped craft that's, some sections were more oval and another section was more triangular in shape.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you put your hands on the vehicle.
Yeah.
You just kind of felt, and
it was like a cold, vibrational feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like magnetic, when you put like a balloon on your hair, and you put it on your hand, on your arm, that same feeling, but on your whole body.
Right. And the whole thing was completely opaque. You couldn't see inside of it at that point?
No, yeah, okay. I couldn't see inside of it.
All right, and at some point, while you're doing this, you say these extraterrestrials suddenly came out of the craft.
Came out of the craft.
And how did they come out of the craft? Did a doorway open? Did they just kind of come out, walking out of the craft without a doorway appearing?
I did not see the way they came out of the craft because I was concentrating on touching the ship. They just show up right next to me, and that's when they greeted me telepathically. I remember them greeting me telepathically.
And do you remember anything about the greeting? I mean, what in particular?
I don't remember nothing about the greeting because when I woke up, I was a little bit scared. Don't get me wrong, but I felt a happiness into me. And then after that month that I was in Brazil, I came back to the States. When I came back to the States, I felt an urge to talk to somebody about my situation. And I felt the urge to talk about what happened to me. And that's when I found your number in 2008. And I called you about my experience.
How many extraterrestrials came out of that craft? How many did you see?
I remember seeing two.
And they were kind of males?
Males.
Regular height? We're talking 6 foot, or were they bigger, shorter?
They're regular height.
Okay.
6 foot, taller than me.
Okay, and they had.
I'm 6 foot, so they were probably like 6'5".
Okay, so they were taller. So they're definitely 6'5". Okay. Did they have long hair? Were they kind of Nordic, blue eyes?
Yeah, Nordic, totally Nordic. They had blue hair, blue eyes.
You mean white hair?
Yeah, white hair.
White hair, blue eyes.
Blue eyes.
Tall, and they communicated with you telepathically. And the uniform. They were wearing some sort of outfit. Was it anything that you recall? Was it like a ski jumpsuit?
It was similar to that, but you could tell it was material that was really shiny. Like, I don't know if you ever seen those cars when they paint them and you can see different kind of colors, but the main color you can see. Well, their main color was like a grayish blue, but if you looked at the suit in different angles, you could see it turning different kind of colors. But the main color, the solid color, was the grayish blue of the uniform.
Okay, and you say it was a uniform. So was it like?
It had insignias on it.
So it had
insignias on it, but I could not understand the language.
Okay, when you say it was a uniform, was it in any way, similar to like a military uniform, or was it something completely different?
I knew it was a uniform because there was more than one being. They were wearing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
it was.
Okay.
I compared it to a uniform.
Mm-hmm. So that was your first contact. It was in 2008, and then you contacted me, and so then it evolved from there. And we're going to talk about what happened next in part 2 of this series. So I want to thank you, JP, for coming forward and being a witness and sharing what you experienced. Thank you.
Yes, it's a pleasure, Dr. Michael Salla.